So welcome back to Pattern Pool TV. Today I'm going to take you on a tour of my new small sewing space. So this is a small bedroom. It's a little bit less than 3 meters or 10 feet square. And I just decided that I wanted to downsize everything and just have only enough sewing things to fit into this small space. And I just wanted to create a really pretty environment, just a nice calm space that I can enjoy for myself when I'm creating new things. So new patterns, new quilts, but I also want to do some more sewing for myself. So I downsized because I've had a business now for over 20 years, and that involved teaching sewing classes, selling stock and things like that at shows, samples. I've had fabric, excess sewing stock, so just more things than I could ever even sew in a lifetime. And I just wanted to downsize and have a really nice little neat creative space for me so that I can design lots of new things. I wanted a space to maybe try some YouTube videos on my own if Alora's not here. So we'll see what the next chapter brings. I decided to go with like an L-shaped configuration for my tables and my cube shelf and my cutting table. I started off with 2 desks in an L shape. These are just simple desks that came from Officeworks. That's an office supply place in Australia. And first of all, I just put them in the L shape. That then left me with a corner that I could then put a 3-tier cube shelf in. And in this section here, I've got some of my favourite sewing books, even got a vintage one that used to be my mum's pattern making book, magazines. All of these magazines I've actually done projects for. And up here, it was a great place to be able to store all of my threads, so I can easily grab those when I'm doing an applique project. And up the top, I thought that was a pretty place for my book to go. I'm quite proud of that. And if you're interested in my new book, it's an interactive book. It has all of my Quilter to Go joining methods and sewing tips from our YouTube channel. There's QR codes that link you to our YouTube videos. So everything's all in one place, and the book's available on our website. So I have a wool ironing mat sitting next to my sewing machine, and then I also have just a small little iron for when I'm doing patchworking. And just a tip with wool ironing mats, if you do have a timber table, you need to protect it somehow so the heat doesn't go through and destroy your table. But these tables here are totally fine, don't need to protect those. Then over here I have my sewing machine, and a lot of people ask me about my sewing machine, and this is a Brother VM6200D. I've had this sewing machine for about 10 years. I absolutely love it. It is superseded, but you can get models that are very similar. I love that. It's got the extension table on it. It's got all this extra throat space here for making quilts. It's just a beautiful machine, like you may have seen in a lot of the videos. So moving along over here, just a little bit of space there for some sewing bits and pieces, like my scissors and tweezers, just the things that I need to have on hand when I'm sewing. I have my overlocker on this side here. So I have a swivel chair so that I can easily just kind of like swivel from my overlocker to my sewing machine. My overlocker it's a Baby Lock Accolade. I bought that a couple of years ago and I've hardly used it because I've been really dying to start making clothes again. And hopefully now with my new space, I will be able to do that. And my chair, a lot of people ask about the chair. I think it was a Horn chair. I've also had this for about 10 years and I find it comfortable. But if you were to buy one, like, you really have to sit in it and make sure that it's comfortable for you, because we know everyone's different. So back over to this corner, having the cube shelf on an angle, then left little spaces on either side. So have my mini ironing board, another little pin cushion there, and you know, some spray bottles, and also a paper roll for when I make my sewing patterns. And oh, over here, back to here is some of my special books. A friend gave me this when I first started my business, and it's a little book of quotes, and it says, "Success begins and ends in your heart." So every small step you take, every leap you make, brings you that much closer to where you want to be. Very cute. Moving over this way, I have my tool wall. This is one of my most favorite things in my sewing room. So this tool wall is from IKEA and it comes in 2 separate pieces. So you can actually make it as big as you like. So this is just a piece up the top and a piece down the bottom. Just attaches to the wall. It's quite easy. My husband and I did that together. Just have to make sure that it goes into a stud so that it's not going to fall off the wall. And I just love having my rulers, my rotary cutters, my scissors, my fabric markers, all my tools just close at hand. Absolutely love that. And think of all the space that you're saving by having all of this up on the wall. And I love my scissors, my scissor collection, and I will just tell you, my favorite pair of scissors is actually Kai. So this is these are beautiful dressmaking shears and great for cutting batting as well as cutting out beautiful fabrics when I'm dressmaking. Moving over to my cutting area, I have this cutting bench, so it's just at the perfect height for me. And my husband made this for me. So the tabletop was an IKEA tabletop that I was using when I was doing the show circuit. And one day I came home and he made this bench for me because he saw me leaning over and he thought I was going to hurt my back. So I thought that was very sweet. He just whipped it up using some recycled timber. This timber all came from a bed frame. And I will eventually paint it white because if you've noticed, a lot of my furniture and things in here is white. That just gives it a really fresh look. But it just so happened that I had these cube shelves, double cube shelves. There's 3 of them in a row and they all fit underneath there perfectly. And then that gives me a space at the top. These little flat spaces that you have are perfect for storing flat things, like there's my light box, and I've got a few extra rulers here that didn't fit on my cube shelf, you know, some bigger ones. And also this, it's a Shape Cut Plus ruler, one of my favorites. I think this is a June Taylor. This is fantastic for cutting strips. This is quite old too, and you can see I dropped it and I put a bit of sticky tape on it, but I think these come in smaller sizes. Different brands make them, but if you can get one of these rulers, they really are fantastic. Speed up your cutting process, and also they're quite easy to hold and they slip around less. So the cube shelves are great for storing extra bits and pieces under here. So here's all my bits and pieces for my overlocker. So it's close, easy to get to. Bag making hardware. I have lots of bag patterns I talk about all the time, and I will eventually PDF those and start making videos for them. Over here are some things that I need for cutting. So I've got my scissors and my fabric weights and pins and things like that, and just storage, you know, for fabric underneath, or there might be a project that I'm working on, so I can just tuck that in and, you know, sit that in the cube shelf and keep it out of the way. Keep my sewing room nice and tidy. That's the goal. Let's see if I can do it. It's not easy to do. So having this L-shaped configuration with my tables and my desk, it left me with spaces at the end where I was able to have extra things. So this is where I keep my mannequin for dressmaking. At the moment, she's wearing a wedding dress that I made for my friend, and the wedding dress is on the mannequin because we're going to sell the wedding dress and I have to take some photos and things like that. But this is a royal dress form mannequin, and I really love these mannequins because their shape is actually, you know, quite realistic and nice and soft. Put pins in, they're really easy to work with. And I can just roll her back and she can just sit there. Do you want to know, funnily enough, this mannequin's name is actually Monica.
It was meant for you.
I know, can you believe that?
So that's not the only wedding dress you've made this year, Mum.
No, that's right. I also made a beautiful wedding dress for my beautiful new sister-in-law, Nicola. Hi, Nicola. She'll love that. Moving over to this side, I have another cube shelf. As I said, we all know cube shelves are great for storing stuff. And my husband and I were just saying the other day, whoever invented them, you know, it was so clever, weren't they? So I have, up on top of the cube shelf, I have this cute little IKEA shelf. And I got these plastic jars that I've put all my sewing bits and pieces in so I can see them and I know what I have, but it also looks like really pretty. And up above that is a nice picture of my mum and dad, who have now passed on, but they're smiling down on me. I made that frame there, that shelf frame, when I was young too. And I like to have special things in my room, you know, special people. The picture, what is it, a long stitch? My best friend Colleen made that for me for my 21st birthday. I also have a pretty little coaster here that my mother-in-law painted. She's also very talented. And having that little space at the end is a great place for the ironing board because I don't need to have it out all the time. I'll only get it out when I need it. And yeah, ironing boards, they can be so difficult to be able to hide away. Now moving over to this side here is my design wall. So my design wall is made from, it's called Acoustic Soundboard, and that came from the hardware store. So in Australia, our big hardware store is called Bunnings, or if you're an Aussie, you call it Bunnos. And so it's quite thick, and it's really great for pinning quilts up on too. So I also have that here, and then I've also got another one here so that I can always pin a pretty quilt up. So I can change that, you know, change my sewing room up whenever I want to. I can look at different quilts, and which I think is very nice to do. Makes you feel very creative. So over here we've got our Time to Bloom blocks. We're up to part 3 now, so next month will be part 4. So I can keep them here and like be looking at them, gives me inspiration for, you know, when we're designing and things like that. Then behind the door is also a great place to store things. So behind the door I have my homemade ironing boards. So I have quite a long one, which is, I think it's about 1.6 or 2 meters long, and it's just a piece of wood. I think it's called marine ply, and I've just covered it with some batting and some fabric, stapled it together, and that's what I use when I'm really getting to that stage of putting a big quilt together.
But natural batting so it doesn't melt?
Yeah, just use like a cotton or a wool batting, definitely. So the thing about this space is that if I was putting a big quilt together, I wouldn't actually be able to do it in this room, but I have a contingency plan. Very lucky to have a breakfast bar, so quite a big kitchen bench, which I'll be able to do if I'm cutting out big things, or I'll be able to pin big quilts together, and also quite a big dining table. So that's where I'll kind of move out. So this is just great for doing, you know, all the small bits, all the blocks. But as I said, I'll move to another space, and I'll take over another part of the house and put mess there too. And here's another special little picture. I made this when Alora was about 1, and I actually made a lot of them for everyone in the family. It actually came from a book, I think it's a Margaret Rolfe book, and it was Patchwork Houses. And this house looks very much like the house that I grew up in, and it's quite special. My husband also made the frame, so we went through a little stage of making recycled timber frames, and he'd make the frame and I'd make a picture to go in it. And here's the pattern drafting tool I use. I think Maria has changed her name now, but it's a really great tool and I've been using it for years. So when it comes to lighting, I have 2 lamps. So I have a floor lamp, and the trick with these is to make sure that you put a daylight lamp in them so that they give you lots of daylight. And I have another smaller one here. This was from an office supplies store, and I changed the light globe in that also to a daylight lamp. And I'm a little bit lucky because we do our videos and we just upgraded our studio lights, and we'll show you what they look like. But if I ever need extra light, I can just bring one of those in and I will definitely be able to see what I'm sewing. And I also have a built-in wardrobe that I was able to store more stuff. Can you believe it? So these drawers, plastic drawers, go really well. Big stack of those. I've labeled them all. It's also a great place to have a few rolls of fabric. And up here, lots of other boxes of fabrics, and I've labeled everything. More things on this side, another cube shelf. Some of my cardboard patterns from when I was pattern making, and more fabric and supplies up there. But I had a rule, and it was if it doesn't fit in this room, it has to go. So I'm very happy with my new space, and I hope to create lots of new exciting projects and videos coming up in the future. And by has to go, I meant that I sent it all to charity because I don't like landfill and waste. So if you're interested in learning about Quilt As You Go, we do have our new course, which is our Time to Bloom course, which is a mystery course where every month we make a different patchwork block and a different applique block. You can find out all about that on our website. Anyway, thanks a lot for coming along to my new small sewing space tour. And if you've got any tips, we'd love to hear about it. So let us know in the comments. Well, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.